I see the sheriff comes forward. That's the sheriff where he lives. And an investigator and a sergeant go out and they start to talk to people and they look for him, but they don't find him. The police department, a local police department, increases patrol. The problem, you see, is no one entity takes complete charge of this and says, we're going to have to own this start to finish. There's 3 or 4 entities involved. The second problem is they never go to the file 6, as they call it in Maine, where it goes to the state police, and now every law enforcement officer is looking for that man, that car, that license plate to do a stop and have some kind of intervention. So there are things that were missed.
Yeah, there certainly were. John Miller, thank you for this. We know you're going to stay on this. Kate?
Certainly were. Coming up still for us, the Israel-HAMAS war has sparked a terrifying surge in anti-Semitism across the world, including in the United States, especially on college campuses. What is going on here, and what can be done about it? We're going to dig into it.
The new CNN prime time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories, the night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN prime time, weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Something unexpected has arrived from Experian, the new Experian Smart Money debit card and digital checking account. It finds payments that could raise your credit scores without the debt. Get your new Experian Smart Money account through the Experian app.
This is American infrastructure, a prime target for cyber attacks. But the same AI-powered security that protects all of Google also defends these services for everyone who lives here.
The Medicare Advantage and Prescription Drug Plan annual enrollment period is now open.
Every year I have to listen to all these commercials.
We're sorry, Karen, and we know it's annoying, but we want to make sure everyone on Medicare knows it's time to check and see if they can enroll in a plan that will save money or include additional benefits.
I just want these commercials to stop.
Honestly, Karen, we do too, but this is the only time of year when everyone on Medicare can call and see if there are plans with additional benefits available in their area.
I already have a Medicare Advantage plan, so these commercials aren't even for me.
Well, Karen, plans may change every year, and the 2024 Medicare Advantage plans are now available. The phone lines are open. Just call 800-331-5378 now. The Medicare annual enrollment period is the only time of year when all Medicare recipients can call and enroll in a new Medicare Advantage plan. This is also the time to call if you want to change plans. This enrollment period is only open for a limited number of weeks.
Do I have to call now for 2024?
2024 plans are available now during the annual enrollment period. Our licensed insurance agents are standing by to take your call. Call now and get a free benefits review with no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-331-5378 now.
So I can call and not sign up for a plan?
That's right. We just want to make sure everyone on Medicare gets information about plans with the coverage they want in 2024. You can call to check and see what plans with additional benefits may be available in your area.
I need to get that number one more time.
The number again is 800-331-5378.
Is the call free too?
Yes, the call and benefits review are free with zero obligation to enroll. Call now. Just call 800-331-5378 now. That's 800-331-5378.
Knock, knock. Number one broker here for the number one hitmaker.
Thanks for swinging by, Carl.
No problem. So what are all those for?
This lets me adjust the bass, add more guitar, maybe some drums.
Wow, so many choices.
Yeah, like Schwab. I can get full-service wealth management, advice, invest on my own, and trade on Thinkorswim.
You know Carl is the only front man you need.
Oh, I gotta take this, Carl. It's Schwab.
Have a choice in how you invest with Schwab.
We planned well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
Do you think those two have any idea that they can sell their life insurance policy for cash, so they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue. That's crazy. Well, not everyone knows Coventry has helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies. I can't believe they're just sitting up there. sitting on all this cash.
If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell all or part of it to Coventry, even a term policy, for cash or a combination of cash and coverage with no future premiums.
Someone needs to tell them that they're sitting on a gold mine and you have no idea. Hey guys, you're sitting on a gold mine. Come on.
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-392-7600 or visit coventrydirect.com.
I'm Melanie Zanona in Washington, and this is CNN.
New this morning, Israel's military is confirming that they have located and identified the remains of Shani Loke. She is the 23-year-old woman who has been missing since the Hamas terror attack. Shani was at the Nova Music Festival on October 7th with hundreds of others when Hamas terrorists attacked, killing hundreds, kidnapping others. You will also remember that Shani was shown in a disgusting Hamas propaganda video where she was seemingly unconscious, bound, and being held in the back of a truck by Hamas terrorists and paraded around. Shani's mother has spoken to CNN many times, pleading for her daughter. And she spoke to CNN this morning after getting this final tragic news that her daughter was killed. Listen.
After 3 weeks that you have no idea where your daughter is, what they're doing to her, what is happening, you don't know if she's alive or not, or injured, nothing. There's just like you're in a vacuum for 3 weeks, just hoping to get some signs or life signs. And then suddenly you get the worst news, but in one hand, it's really, okay, now it's final, now we can stop looking for her, which is some finality to go on.
Now, Shani Loke was just 23 years old, just going to that music festival, and now she has passed. She is killed. I want to go now to northern Israel, near the border with Lebanon. Our Jim Shudo has been standing by. And Jim, what's happening there right now?
You might have just heard that boom. As you travel along the border here, as we've been doing the last several days, you encounter this with regularity. The smoke rising there, flames, and we just heard two booms just in the last several seconds. The top of that ridge line is the Lebanon border there. We believe that explosion on the opposite side, not clear if it was outcoming artillery fire from Lebanon or incoming from Israel. We do know the IDF told us just a short time ago there was another exchange just about 2 miles this way in a town we visited the other day. That zigzag of a concrete barrier there, that marks the border between Israel and Lebanon, and it is this kind of regular exchange of artillery, rocket fire that we've seen the last several days with regularity. And something's underway there because, again, we're hearing those booms just in the last couple of minutes. Kate, that's the low-grade kind of conflict you have going on up here. Hezbollah firing in, attempting at times to cross that border fence, that border wall, and Israel, of course, firing back.
And Jim, you were also in a staging area earlier in the show of where you saw the IDF tanks kind of staging if need be. What are you hearing from the IDF on what they are preparing for, what they are encountering, as things really seem to be at real risk of heating up in a big way on the northern border with Lebanon, which could be significant change in this conflict?
Yeah, we were just at that staging area, goodness, maybe a half mile down the road. We saw the smoke here, so we came to investigate what was going on. There are many tens of thousands of IDF forces, including armored divisions like the one we saw down there, arrayed now along the northern border in case, right, as a defensive line in case Hezbollah were to attempt to come in numbers. That force deployed really since October 7th. And when you speak to those soldiers there, the vast majority that I've met, they're reservists. They've been called up since October 7th. There's some 300,000 people. Think of that, a third of a million people called up in this country to do their duty, defending the country, and many tens of thousands of them up in the north, in addition to, of course, the bulk of that force in the south, many of them now entering Gaza. And when you speak to them, they say, listen, I'm here to defend my home. They feel that their home is under threat, not just from Hamas in the south, but Hezbollah in the north. And as we see this fire, and again, the flames rising there, you can understand. You can understand exactly why they feel they have that duty now.
That's absolutely right. It's so important that you're there. Jim, you can see the smoke over Jim's shoulder. A lot going on there, Jim. We're going to get back to you in just a moment. Clearly, things heating up today. We'll be right back.
We are seeing something that we have not seen yet ever in American history. A speaker pushed out. It's the biggest FU to Republican voters I've ever seen.
Things are very heated right now, very emotional.
Will this ever be over?
Minutes from now, there could be a new House Speaker.
Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, just elected.
Republicans say they are finally ready to move ahead and put aside the ugly chapter.
Dad, would you rather time travel to the past or the future?
I'll go back 20 minutes so I can eat this ham, turkey, and beef roast all over again.
We can go back to the holiday buffet right now.
No time travel?
I traveled to Vegas. Well, it's gravy time.
I done sat at the wrong table again.
This is spring semester, and Fairfields is soon unified. They switched to Google Tools for education because there's never been a reported ransomware attack on a Chromebook. Now they're focused on learning, knowing that their data is secure.
If your thyroid eye disease was diagnosed a long, long time ago, you may think your eyes will be bulging forever, like a never-ending curse that can't be broken. But even if you've been told it's too late, treating your thyroid eye disease may still be possible, and a new day is within sight. Learn how you could give your eyes a fresh start at stilltreatted.com.
Nikki Haley's record on China as Governor Haley rolled out the red carpet for Chinese companies.
They want to do business in South Carolina. Our home, your home.
She gave them millions in tax breaks, subsidies, free land. The Communist Party-owned high-tech company got 200 acres, 5 miles from an army base.
I think China is really in good faith doing quite a bit. They are a really great friend of ours.
Nikki Haley, questionable judgment, dangerous from China. Never back down is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We've got questions about Medicare plans.
Well, we've got a lot of answers. How can I help?
Well, for starters, do you have a Medicare plan I can actually afford?
How about a plan with a $0 monthly premium?
Well, that's a great start. What other benefits can we get?
Things like dental, vision, and hearing. But let me help you pick the plan that's right for you.
Ooh.
Don't wait. Call 1-888-65-AETNA to get answers to your questions and pick a plan that's right for you. And let's make healthier happen together.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
When you have auto glass damage, trust Safelite. My customer really relies on his car's advanced safety system.
You're right. Can I slow down?
So when he got a cracked windshield, he turned to Safelite. We're the experts at replacing glass and recalibrating your vehicle's camera so automatic emergency braking and lane departure warning work properly to get you back on the road safely.
And that means a lot.
Schedule now.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
They put food on our tables, care for our loved ones, and help build our communities. Canada needs over 400,000 migrant workers to fill employment gaps and sustain our growing economy. Mosaic BC's Migrant Workers Program provides support services to migrant workers, but more needs to be done. Like many others, migrant workers also lost their jobs during the BC wildfires. Emergency funding is required to support worker needs. Help give back to these workers who give so much to Canada. Donate today at mosaicbc.org.
Maybe America needs a Satva.
At least we'd be comfortable disagreeing. Satva, luxury mattresses made affordable.
There is a lot that goes into becoming a licensed therapist.
2 years of graduate school followed by 2 years of clinical training.
You literally have to do 3,000 hours plus of interactions with clients. It is quite a journey.
I'm Kayla Tausche at the White House, and this is CNN.
On Capitol Hill, Secretary of State Tony Blinken interrupted multiple times as he was trying to testify before the Senate. He and the defense secretary taking questions from lawmakers over the president's ask for billions of dollars in aid to support Israel and Ukraine.
Yeah, so Israeli troops on the ground inside Gaza, what appears to be a sort of three-pronged operation now. We're getting the very latest on what they're going after and their rescue mission for the hostages there.
And taking the stand in a case against their dad, at least two of Donald Trump's children could take the stand this week, called by prosecutors to testify in their father's civil fraud trial. I'm Kate Baldwin with John Berman. Sarah Sider is on assignment. This is CNN News Central. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, Secretary of State Tony Blinken on Capitol Hill right now. The goal, the mission for them today is to make the case to lawmakers for President Biden's $106 billion ask for an aid package that he wants in order to support both Ukraine and Israel, two nations at war, two allies of the United States. But what has happened is protests. Blinken interrupted multiple times by people protesting, angry over Israel's action in Gaza. CNN's Natasha Bertrand has been tracking this hearing for us. She joins us once again. Natasha, they eventually got to being able to make their opening statements and to getting questions from the senators. What is the case that they're making for this aid package?
Yeah, Kate, so one of the big themes that we see Secretary Austin and Secretary Blinken underscoring here is the fact that Israel and Ukraine and the wars that both are fighting are pretty inextricably linked, and therefore you can't divorce the two in a major supplemental aid package as the House wants to do. And Secretary Blinken made this case explicitly by saying that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is being supported by Iran, and in exchange, Iran is getting advanced military equipment and technology from the Russians. What can the Iranians do with that? Well, then they can use that to support their proxies across the region, which attack Americans, which attack the Israelis, and ultimately this is all interconnected, this axis of Iran and Russia that is posing such a big threat to the U.S. and its allies. So that is really the case that they are making at this point. Secretary Blinken actually said that if the two were to be separated in a major aid package, then that would just show adversaries that the U.S. is simply playing whack-a-mole with its funding to its allies. Here's what he said.
This is all one fight, and we have to respond in a way that recognizes that. If we start to peel off pieces of this package, they'll see that, they'll understand that we are playing whack-a-mole while they cooperate increasingly and pose an ever greater threat to our security as well as for that of allies and partners.
So this is a major issue at this point because the GOP introduced legislation just yesterday that would only provide aid to Israel at this moment, and in addition to that, it would strip funding for the IRS that was included in the Inflation Reduction Act, something that the administration as well as some senators have said is a non-starter. So that it remains to be seen just how this all gets passed. But another major through line so far in this hearing has been questions about humanitarian assistance and protecting civilians in Gaza. Both Blinken and Austin have reiterated that they have said multiple times to their counterparts how important that is. The U.S. right now, according to Blinken, trying to get up to 100 trucks of aid per day into Gaza. Right now it's at about 60, still a drop in the bucket, of course, what Palestinians there need. Kate.
Natasha, thank you so much. John?
All right, we're getting new reporting out of Israel. First off, Israel now has changed its count to 240 for the number of hostages being held inside Gaza. They say this would now be their 25th day in captivity. We're getting some video of the Israeli incursion into Gaza this morning. You can see explosions there. We also have some pictures of Israeli infantry on the ground there. And it's not the only place where Israel has been conducting operations. North of Ramallah in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, Israel says it has targeted a Hamas leader's compound there. But I do want to get right to the very latest with our Jim Shudo, who is in northern Israel, who has seen ingoing or outgoing fire along the border between Israel and Lebanon. Lebanon is where Hezbollah fighters are based in the southern part of that country. Jim, why don't you tell us what you're seeing?
So, John, just to place us, we're less than a half mile from the Lebanon border, the top of that ridge line, and that's where you see the smoke and the flames have been dipping up above the horizon there from some of this cross-border exchange of artillery fire, rocket fire, mortar fire that we've seen the last several days. In the last few minutes, as we've been standing here, we hear boom after boom, whether that's additional shells being fired or secondary explosions from this first one. You can see the smoke rising there. This is a measure of what is a low-grade conflict going on along the border here. These exchanges are happening multiple times a day. Short time ago, the IDF told us of another strike in the Israeli town of Aramsha, just over where that zigzag is. That zigzag is the concrete wall barrier that separates Israel from Lebanon. In fact, we were in that town around Aramsha just on the weekend, and while we were there, more shells were dropping as well. So it's a low grade. It's certainly not what we're seeing in Gaza, but it's a measure of both sides testing each other at the northern border. And just one more measure, John, if I can, of the seriousness with which Israel is taking this. Walking down Main Street in Shlomi in northern Israel, it's empty because this town is among several along the northern border under mandatory evacuation. Generally, the folks you do see who are still here are either soldiers. That part of the town up there is now a military zone, or folks that need to be here briefly. But the town itself is under mandatory evacuation, as is really just a broad swath of northern Israel right now. Worried about, defending against, concerned about an escalation up here.
And again, this is where Jim is, right alongside the Israel-Lebanon border, the explosion over Jim's shoulder, presumably inside Lebanon. And Jim, we can see the flames burning behind you right now, and the smoke rising. You know, again, I know you're being as safe as you can be in this situation. You've done a nice job explaining what this is, this low-scale back and forth between Hezbollah and Israel for the last few weeks. But what is it not so far, and what has U.S. military leaders so concerned about what it could become along that border?
So it's already a deadly exchange. Hezbollah says it's lost perhaps 40 fighters. In fact, there was a Hezbollah funeral. Oh, there's another boom just as we're speaking. Gives you a measure that this is constant. There was a Hezbollah funeral just on the other side of the border from one of those fighters. Mostly Israel has been able to repel those ground invasions. But listen, those shells fall on this side, and they're dangerous, right? But it is not a full-scale invasion yet. You have many thousands of Hezbollah fighters on the other side, and crucially, Hezbollah has many thousands missiles, including very high-grade precision missiles that they didn't have in previous conflicts supplied by Iran. They fired a few, but if they fire those in number, the concern is it would overwhelm Israel's missile defenses. Much like those rockets coming out of Gaza fired by Hamas, they were fired in such volume and such number that they were able to break through the Iron Dome defenses. If Hezbollah were to unleash similar from here, then we're talking about something quite different.
Yeah, Hezbollah's got forces in Iranian proxies, not just in southern Lebanon, but Syria here. You can see how it threatens Israel from several directions. Jim Sciutto, terrific reporting. You and your team on the Lebanese border. Please stay safe. Okay?
It's an important perspective from Jim on that border. Let's talk about this. Joining us right now is CNN military analyst, former commanding general of U.S. Army, Europe, and the 7th Army, Mark Hertling, and CNN global affairs analyst, Kim Dozier. General, let's just start with what Jim was talking about, with what we're seeing kind of happening in northern Israel at the border with Lebanon. What do you see?
Well, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when I was there with you and John and Kate. Jim is in exactly the right place because this is the tinderbox, and I believe Hezbollah is waiting for the right time to continue to launch more and more attacks. And as Jim just stated accurately, they are exponentially a greater force than Hamas is by the type of weapons they have, by the number of fighters they have, and the fact that they're unconstrained within Lebanon. They don't have walls around them. They aren't encircled by Israeli forces. But you combine that also with what's going on in the West Bank, as you reported with Ramallah, when you talk about the potential for transporting new equipment through Damascus, Syria, when you have the Houthis in Yemen now saying that they are going to declare war on Israel, all of these things are exactly what we talked about 2 weeks ago as the worst possible case scenario of an expansion of Israel being attacked on multiple sides with increasingly stronger and more capable forces that have better ammunition than what Hamas has, while their main forces are being tied down in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, and while their focus remains, or the one, I guess, the first focus remains in Gaza. And Kim, the IDF, on that front, the IDF announced this morning that they killed the Hamas commander who directed the massacre of 2 of the kibbutzim that were attacked on October 7th. And the IDF says that they took out Nessim Abu Ajina in an aerial strike on Monday. And he also commanded Hamas's aerial array, is how they describe it, helping to develop UAVs and paragliders. Taking these leaders like this out, what does it do?
Well, part of it is the retribution that the Israeli public is waiting for, that the planners and those who carried out the October 7th massacre are held responsible. But the other part of it is the taking off the battlefield of the military members of Hamas who are seen as an obstruction to the hostage negotiations. I've heard from a source familiar that the Hamas political wing in Qatar is much more willing to negotiate than the Hamas military leaders inside Gaza. So the more of those leaders you take out, perhaps you remove some of that friction. But Hamas also knows that those 200 plus hostages are the only leverage against an all-out Israeli assault. So I think you're going to continue to see days, if not weeks, of Israel picking off these leaders with airstrikes, and the more of the area that they saturate, probably also raids on the ground. But you can see that they're holding back on some of those raids to protect their own forces. They don't want to have their forces at this point also taken hostage as they're attacking.
In general, what do you think about news like this being announced from the IDF?
Yeah, well, Kim's got it all right, Kate, except for one thing. Over the last 20 years, we've spent in 2 fights, Afghanistan and Iraq, continually echoing the fact that we've taken out the head of this or the leader of that or some key terrorist in a cell. And in each particular occasion, they are replaced. This is a fight against not only the leaders, the people who direct the operations, who plan the operations, but also, the American people would be surprised, the financiers, who's getting the religious approval for different strikes. These terror cells are so robust that they can replace their leaders in a nanosecond. It's important to take out individuals that we've identified as key leaders of the cell, or that Israel thinks are controlling part of the operation. But truthfully, when you're talking about a terrorist organization that has thousands of fighters who have already been immersed in a plan and who are now hunkered down inside those tunnels waiting to continue the fight, and they have other terrorist cells in, like we just talked about, Hezbollah, Yemen, and other locations that are all being supported by Iran, it's very difficult to squash this terrorist activity, but also to basically beat the ideology, which is Hamas.
Right, and in the mix of all of this, Kim, you have the hostages. Now 240 is what the IDF says. We know one Israeli soldier has been rescued. They called it an active rescue, getting her out. But what does this say about the effort to rescue more of them? An IDF offensive dovetailed with a hostage rescue mission.
Well, Israeli military officials will tell you that they don't have very good intelligence on where the hostages are. So each of these operations to take operators off the board is also an intelligence gathering operation to see if they can find, if they can map the tunnel system and if they can find pockets of some of these hostages, because the assumption is that Hamas has grouped them in small groups so that they won't get rescued all at once. But the problem is, to Mark's point, yes, there are many people who can tactically be replaced to do these jobs within Hamas. The hope is that by the Israelis military keeping the pressure on and taking out some of the well-known political figures within Gaza, that it gives the figures within Hamas in Qatar a greater chance to negotiate to get those people out peacefully.
General Kim, thank you so much. John.
So Democrats say Republicans are setting a political trap when it comes to providing aid to Israel. Donald Trump's own children on the stand starting tomorrow in the civil fraud case against him. And breaking ground in Uvalde, details on the plans for a new school for the students who survived the shooting there.
The new CNN prime time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories. The night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN prime time. Weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
Garderies. Shop, buy, sell online.
At Long John Silver's, feed your sea tooth with a fish and shrimp platter. 2 heavyweights of the high seas dipped in our signature batter and fried to golden perfection. Pair your platter with Wisconsin white cheddar cheese bites and ride a wave of melty goodness. Order ahead at longjohnsilvers.com. Fish yeah!
This is American infrastructure, a prime target for cyber attacks. But the same AI-powered security that protects all of Google also defends these services for everyone who lives here.
Icy hot. Ice works fast. Heat makes it last. Feel the power of contrast therapy. So you can rise from pain. Icy hot.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. With Purple's new mattresses, fall asleep 20% faster, have less aches and pains, and sleep uninterrupted. Right now, save up to $900 off mattress sets during Purple's Black Friday sale. Visit purple.com or a store near you today.
Life, diabetes. Each day is a unique blend of going, doing, and living. Lucerna Protein Smart with 30 grams of protein to help keep you moving. Uniquely designed with Carb Steady to help manage blood sugar response. Lucerna, bring on the day.
Upon his first day of retirement, Marcus Rogers made a contract with himself. I will never again work for another man or woman.
Or Todd.
Especially Todd. I lay down my badge, abandon my corporate phone plan, and I'll get a new plan with Consumer Cellular, without a contract, without sacrificing coverage.
Let's go, birds.
When freedom calls, we're here to answer.
Now's the time for cleaner indoor air with an air duct cleaning from Stanley Steamer. You've known us for carpet cleaning, but we've been cleaning air ducts for over 20 years. We do things the right way, cleaning your entire system. So if you need an air duct cleaning, call 1-800-STEAMER today.
Attention! Did you or a loved one live at or near the Marine base Camp Lejeune in North Carolina between 1950 and 1985? If so, listen closely for this important legal announcement. For decades, Marines and their family members at Camp Lejeune drank water that was contaminated with hazardous toxins. The toxins found in the water at Camp Lejeune may cause cancer and other diseases, especially later in life. Types of cancer and diseases associated with water at Camp Lejeune are numerous. If you or a loved one lived at Camp Lejeune between 1950 and 1985, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation without going to court, even if you were turned down in the past. New legislation may allow you to file a claim today. If you spent time at Camp Lejeune, call the Negligence Network to find out if you're eligible for financial compensation. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call 1-800-600-4465. That's 1-800-600-4465.
Dale used to hide his smile. Now, it's Swishy Time. He uses TheraBreath anti-cavity mouthwash for 24-hour cavity protection.
And it helps strengthen enamel. Not that you have any weaknesses.
Try TheraBreath mouthwash.
It's a better mouthwash. He hits his mark center stage and is crushed by a baby grand piano.
You're replacing me? Customize and save with Liberty Bibbity.
He doesn't even have a mustache.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Hope you all like potatoes. These are fresh from my garden.
What? Is your garden in Idaho?
No, it's in my backyard.
let this happen to you. Always look for the grown-in Idaho seal.
Happening now, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken testifying before the Senate about the importance, they say, of passing a $106 billion aid package that includes funding for both Israel and Ukraine. This as lawmakers on the Hill clash over how to help both nations. House Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing a standalone bill that does not include any money for Ukraine and also calls for tying aid to Israel to cutting some funding from the IRS. With us now is Congressman Steve Womack, a Republican from Arkansas on the Appropriations Committee. Congressman, always great to see you. How do you feel? Why tie cutting IRS funding to aid for Israel?
Well, just remember, John, that the money we're talking about with the Internal Revenue Service enjoyed bipartisan support when we did the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So we're talking essentially about the same concept here of using money earmarked for the Internal Revenue Service and tying it to, as a pay-for the emerging needs in Israel. I mean, Israel is at war right now with Hamas. It is a true emergency situation. And look, we've got a spending problem in Washington, so I think props to Speaker Johnson that of all the things considered in terms of what we could use to pay for, to offset this money, that the Internal Revenue Service money was agreed to in this context. Now, I'm going to say this too. I get it that at the other end of this Capitol, there are other ideas emanating out of the Senate, Senator Schumer and others, even Republicans. If they've got a better plan, let's see it. And then let's be able to come together and reconcile our differences. But the House has put forward a plan. I think you'll see that on the floor this week. And my hope is that it will pass, and then we can find out what comes our way from the other end of this Capitol.
One of the things that might come from the other end of the Capitol is a deal that includes both funding for Israel and Ukraine. You've been very supportive of funding for Ukraine in the past. Would you vote for a bill that included both funding for Israel and Ukraine together?
I've made no bones about it. The opportunity to be able to defeat Vladimir Putin in Eastern Europe is attractive to me, and I've supported funding for Ukraine. But look, I'm not going to sacrifice one for the other. We have a raging conflict going on as we speak now, 3 weeks into it in Israel, in the Gaza Strip, and this is a true emergency. We need to get money out the door for the Israelis and for the IDF to replenish our stocks, to be able to do all the things that we deem necessary. But at the end of the day, you're right, John. What we get back from the Senate may look entirely different than what we send over. But I look forward to those negotiations.
Democrats in the House are calling this a political trap, tie funding for Israel to the IRS. And you called it an emergency just now. So why tie it to anything? Why not just vote up or down on aid to Israel?
Because that's not where the GOP in the House is right now.
Is it where you are?
The plan. Look, I'm going to support what the Republican conference puts forward in order that we can get something sent to the Senate and then reconcile our differences. So if it's a reasonable solution, and I believe this one is a reasonable solution, then why not support it and then get it to the Senate and then come back and settle our differences and get something that the president can sign and get this money out the door. Look, if I were running the show by myself, would it look a little different than this? Perhaps so, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a decision that's going to have to be made by the majority of the people, 218 votes in the House, and I believe we'll have an opportunity to do that. We're going to lose some Democrat support, no question about that, over the IRS funding issue, but there are people sympathetic to the plight of our friends in the Jewish community in Israel that will join us in this conquest, and we'll get it to the Senate and see where it goes from there.
So, Congressman, we've had the chance to speak with you quite a bit over the last few weeks, given everything that's been happening in the House with getting leadership there, and you've been, frustrated with a capital F. I think that's safe to say over the last several weeks. Listen, over the summer, you had said you were considering whether to seek re-election. After Labor Day, you made a decision and said you were running again. I am wondering, after everything that's happened over the last few weeks and how frustrated you were, whether you're reconsidering seeking re-election.
Now, I'm not reconsidering my decision. I make that decision every other Labor Day. And then afterward, to be fair to my district and to be fair to other people who might want to seek election to succeed me, then I think it's important to give plenty of time. But I made that decision. I'm going to stick with that decision. Next week, we will file for re-election. And look, this institution is pretty important to me. This country, I love my country. This country is important to me. And it needs people, I think, that are here that understand the context and the context of where we are today and domestically, and where we are in the face of the world and what's going on in the context of the global environment. And I believe I have those skill sets to be able to continue to deliver for the 3rd District of Arkansas, and I plan to do that. But you're right, it is frustrating at times, but not sufficiently so that it would cause me to want to take my wares and go home.
Congressman Steve Womack, we do appreciate you. You come on, you answer our questions. We enjoy seeing you. Please come back soon.
You know, John, I'm hoping to play a much lower profile here in the ensuing days.
All right, well, we won't help you with that. Congressman Steve Womack, appreciate it, okay?
He is interesting. Coming up for us, new images are coming out of a caravan of thousands of migrants leaving southern Mexico, headed for the U.S.-Mexico border. We also have new reporting on the journey that they have planned. That's ahead. Plus, Sarah Seidner visited a kibbutz targeted by Hamas in the October 7th terror attack. And after the attack, the people now taking on the grim task of trying to identify so many bodies.
During our identification process, we heard the screams and we heard the cries of the family that came and they said their last goodbye.
The new CNN Prime Time is where the truth shines. The day's biggest stories, the night's most essential reporting. This is the new CNN Prime Time, weeknights starting at 7 on CNN.
When I see you there, my heart surrenders. Deep within my soul, a glowing ember is burning in blue.
Search for something you love. Etsy has it.
We've got questions about Medicare plans.
Well, we've got a lot of answers. How can I help?
Well, for starters, do you have a Medicare plan I can actually afford?
How about a plan with a $0 monthly premium?
Well, that's a great start. What other benefits can we get?
Things like dental, vision, and hearing. But let me help you pick the plan that's right for you.
Ooh.
Don't wait. Call 1-888-65-Aetna to get answers to your questions and pick a plan that's right for you. And let's make healthier happen together.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people like Sam who make
everyday products designed smarter.
Like a smart coffee grinder
that orders fresh beans for you.
Oh, genius. For more breakthroughs like that,
I need a breakthrough card.
Like ours, with 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more.
Plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases.
And with greater spending potential, Sam can keep making smart ideas.
A brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card from Chase for Business. Make more of what's yours.
Bath Fitter is a better way to remodel your tub. Precise measuring means the perfect fit. The Bath Fitter tub over tub process means no mess or stress. A custom-made tub and seamless wall mean a watertight fit. Premium acrylic means it lasts a lifetime. And all this together means a great value. Bath Fitter, it just fits. Visit bathfitter.com to book your free consultation.
Sorry about the moaning and groaning. I believe I'm still experiencing it.
the after effects of diverticulitis. Oh. Those darn Republicans trying to play political games with aid for Israel and Ukraine. A song by Paul Beckman, Paul the Rainbow Song, also the known first leader of humankind in the free world, created October 31st, 2023, Halloween. Those darn Republicans trying to play political games with aid to Israel and Ukraine. Those darn Republicans trying to play political suicide. Don't they know that they're playing with fire? They don't care. They're like spoiled children. They don't care what they do to the United States of America or to allowing despots and dictators to take over the world like Putin of Russia and other states of terror in this world. Ukraine was and is still a sovereign nation. We should be helping them. Who these Republicans think they are? They could simply ignore what's happening and then try to tie it to political gains for the Democrats, who already have so many conspiracy theories out the yin-yang, none of them true. They're going to be holding Democrats hostage, in a sense, with these political games for political gain, not thinking of the true situation of what's happening in Israel and Ukraine. The United States of America should be helping support freedom and democracy throughout the world. Those darn Republicans, they are cowards. Not brave enough to defend and stand up for democracy and freedom around the world and within the United States of America. Trump cowards they are. Trump cowards all. Take that, Republicans, and shove it.